Welcome to the second review of the evening. Up this time is a game called Legend of the Skyfish, a 2D overhead action adventure game. I mean, I'm surprised this type of game hasn't developed any sort of formalized nomenclature. I
Mm.
guess Zelda likes aren't that common even in today's age. But
And it's not quite Zelda-like either, but yeah.
you know, it's not quite Zelda-like, but let's be honest here. This
Hmm.
game is invoking a lot of Zelda, including
Yeah.
the title. It's like Legend of the Skyfish. I mean, is that a Link's Awakenings reference I see? Maybe, but it's like it's distant enough where it can get away with it.
Mm.
Anyway, this was the Nintendo Switch version that was provided to us, so that means Galax will take the reins for this review.
So in this game, you play as a girl from Fisherman Town, which is a town on like an archipelago of islands or whatever, where everybody does fishing, and it was good for a long time. But then people got greedy and started fishing too deep, and someone fished up the Skyfish, who is kind of a god, and he got pissed off, and now his army of fish-like monsters are enslaving humans and whatever. And the girl's brother is one of the people who got captured, so she's off to save him with the help of the legendary moon whale, which is also a sort of god thing who travels you between the islands.
Mm.
Your only equipment in this game is your clothing, a fishing rod, and a fishing hook, of which there are somewhat hidden treasure chests in certain levels that you can get new clothes, rods, or hooks that have added features, such as there are clothes that give you an extra hit that make enemies not see you for closer, or that make you move faster. There are rods that make because you can swing your rod as like a sword to attack things. To There's one that makes the range a little longer, and then there's one that slows things down, and one that stuns things. And for the hooks, there's one that goes faster. There's one that has a larger area that it hooks on, and there's one that just goes further. Basically, the game takes place in 3 worlds of about 15 levels each. Each level is its own small collection of islands. And the goal is you have to get to the end of the series of islands to break the Skyfish statue there, except for the last level of each world, which is a boss fight. The levels have different mechanics and different kinds of small puzzles, but they're all pretty linear in structure, which is the fact that it's basically level based, and the fact that the puzzles are generally very linear, and the things that kind of take it away from me as much like a Zelda as I think it wants to. The trimming down of equipment to just the fishing gear, I feel like it does surprisingly less of that than you'd think. So yeah, you just go through the things. You can hit enemies with your fishing hook to pull them to you, and stun them briefly so you can whack them. You can pull yourself to certain types of hooks. You can grab certain blocks and pull them around. And then later on, there are like switches and timing puzzles, but I felt like it took the game like the entire first world is pretty much at your own pace. They don't introduce any real moving parts until the second world, it felt like. And then the puzzles don't really get tricky until like the third world. So it's fairly easy. Or it takes a while to ramp up to get actually interesting. You only have the 4 hearts, but whenever I think some hits don't do a whole heart, and whenever you pick up a heart, which it's not like enemies drop hearts, they're bonus things that you can find for going a little off the beaten path. It actually fills your hearts completely instead of just refilling one. You have a little flying fish sidekick whose name I think is Physic, who mostly serves to give you certain notices of how you're supposed to interact with certain. It will when you're near the part of a stage that leads off to where one of the chests is, because the chests are all on small branching paths. He gets a little chest icon thought bubble above his head, and like when there's something you need to hit or hook onto, it'll usually indicate that. I feel like that's pretty much got the mechanics down. So in terms of, I enjoyed the game, but it's a little bit slow and linear for what I would like to have in a, basically a Zelda-like game. It would have been nice if there were more like actual branching paths instead of just like paths where you have to go off to one side to hit a switch to make it so you can go off to the other side to hit a switch to make it so you could go forward. And like I said, the once I got the walk speed up float, which is in the third world actually, so it took a while, that made the pace feel a lot better. The music was okay, but it didn't have a whole ton of tracks, it didn't seem like, so I mostly stopped playing with the sound on after a while. Do you guys have any further questions or anything?
No, it seems fairly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
So this game does have versions on other things, and those versions have achievements. This version doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But the achievements don't sound like much. And actually, one of the things that bothered me a little is that apparently you actually don't have to complete the game to complete all the achievements. The last achievement for getting chests is for getting like 5 of them or something, and there are 9, I think. So, I mean, I know there are 9. I think the last achievement is for getting 5 of them. So yeah, that's about what I got. I overall enjoyed it, but it could have been a little bit more than it was.
Okay. And I guess that'll about do it for Legend of the Skyfish here. Be sure to tune in after the break as I'll be reviewing Sin Slayers.